Suri e dajichinne ego da suknam kini kis anabazar chije ashto. And let the tenata des aha ego da tedes aha e de nasha. Shmasana dosiche e denabazar e shafas a. Aron le the second mesa hopi reservation. Bing shampoo wal yahiki e shnalastan doshnalasi e kis anabazar e shafas a. Nari daba anta e shinachi. Kitale Tenata, there's Rock Point Community Schools where I graduated from back in May 2020 during the pandemic. I currently now go to school at Teheli Hotak BBZ, Dene College. I recently graduated with my Associate of Arts and Dene Studies this past May 9th, 2025. I am a first generation college student among my family, and I am also the first title holder as Mr. Ehik. Today I will be presenting, my title is called Mr. Ahik 2025-2026. So the content overview is I'll be explaining my introductions. Second slide will be my platform, how I became to be a Mr. Ahik. Third, I'll be explaining what is Ahik. And fourthly, what is the tribal movement of Ahik. And fifth, I'll be ending of the slides. See y'all, Claire, this is my introduction. I did state that my clans. So with immense pride, I do stand before you as the newly crowned 2025-2026 Mr. Ahik, also known as the American Indian Higher Age Consortium, representing the strength, perseverance, and brilliance of our Diné and Hopi Nation. I'm honored to be the first from Diné College, the first from Rock Point, Arizona, and the first in my family to hold this prestigious title. I carry this responsibility with deep gratitude, representing 37 tribal colleges and universities across the United States. My platform is to empower our Indigenous students and youth by uplifting their voices through language revitalization, culture preservation, student success, and mental wellness. Education is the foundation of our identity and sovereignty, and I will ensure that every Indigenous student has the opportunity to straighten both. With this is more than a title. It is a movement, a promise, and a mission. Our voices will be heard, our language will thrive, our future is sovereign. In this slide, I'm going to explain what is AHIC. So, AHIC was founded back in 1973, which was controlled by 6 federally American Indian colleges which formed American Indian Higher Education Consortium. As we know, Diné College was the first tribal colleges that came up with AHIC back in 1973. What is AHIC? It was to create a supported network between the 37 tribal colleges and universities. It is to influence federal policy or government policy on American Indian higher education among our collegiate students, especially our incoming high school students. Today, AHIC does include 37 tribal colleges and universities across the United States. Reluctantly, there was only 35, but now we do have 2 upcoming colleges that are being built. With the AHIC tribal movement, each tribal college and university is to create a charter by its tribal government and federal governments. It is designed to offer locally and culturally based on holistic healing and supportive education to American Indians. Through AHIC, tribal colleges and universities are to collaborate, shape policies, and develop educational programs. Through AHIC, tribal colleges are to receive technical support, institutions, and with other partners, and they are among networks with other agencies as well. Through AHIC, this is where I learned how to work with new mentors among the TCUs. As of right now, we do have a student council with the AHIC, also known as the Tribal College Student Council Government. We do have about 9 positions that are in stand among 37 tribal colleges and universities. Through AHIC, they are to launch initiatives such as meeting changing needs. With this changing needs, we are actually working on tribal movement for our education. Just recently, weeks ago, Haskell Indian University had a budget cut from the federal government, and we are trying to push that needs for our collegiate students out in Haskell Indian University. With the AHIC's roles is to include advocacy, research, and programs development in our collegiate American Indian higher education students. It is to promote and preserve our indigenous languages, cultures, communities, and tribal sovereignties. With AHIC's role, it is to support both our members in institution and emerging tribal colleges, universities. So this is what my experience with AHIC. Questions I've been asked is, what do you know about the tribal college movement? This is my response. What I know about the tribal college movement, it is a powerful expression of indigenous self-determinations. There were challenges where our native youth faced and became resilient. It creates an impact on their future where it strengthens their communities, becoming leaders, preserving their cultures and language, not only Navajo languages, but also among the languages across the 598 federally recognized tribes in the United States. Next question I was asked was, what does the tribal college experience mean to you? Tribal college experience is not just about education. It's a deep connection to your culture, to your community, and self-determination. Along with that, your self-identity, who you are, where you come from, who do you represent? It is where the students learn their cultural heritage, the language, traditions, and histories. Let's look at this for example. For me, TCU provided a sense of belonging. It was not about competition-wise, it was about networking with other indigenous students out there. This experience really empowered the students and myself to reclaim their knowledge, their strengths, and their cultural roots. It's about resilience and representation. Third question I was asked was, how do you carry forward your culture and tradition within your community? So I do come from Rock Point community, and with Rock Point Community School, as we know, is a bio-language school where English and language is taught. The way I spoke the Nepaza Digi was from my grandparents, and then I continue into Rock Point Community School, is where I expand more on my knowledge with the Digi de the Nepaza, and I became fluent as I became the first Mr. Rock Point of 2017 to 2020. So within my Rock Point community, I do mainly have two goals, which is one, the language revitalization, and second, the Navajo philosophy within our education. Within our Navajo philosophy, there are storytellings and ceremonies, which we hope our younger generations will carry forward. So my experience was very moving. It was very touching, I would say. I experienced diversities among many tribes across the United States who are powerful and inspirational indigenous individuals. My experience at AHIC was last year, we recently went to Minnesota, Minneapolis, where I competed my first time as Mr. AHIC. I wasn't where you butcher a sheep or you do your talents. What I did was I did an interview. I sat in front of 3 doctorate degree holders in front of me, and they asked me these similar questions of why I want to be Mr. AHIC. What is your reason? What is your goal? Who are you? Where do you come from? At first, I was nervous with my first interview last year. I stuttered. It was very hard. Until this year, back in March during spring break, this time we went to Rapid City, South Dakota, and we competed out there at City Bloom College. And this time I sat in front of 4 doctorate degree holders, including our former Mrs. AHIC, who was from Bismarck, North Dakota, I presume. Again, this time the questions were very different, and these were the 3 questions I was asked. With those 3 questions, this time I had to stand out for myself. Not being nervous, you had to get out of your shell. So I really look back on where I come from for our Rock Point. I noticed that I come from a very deep root from a traditional family where our language is spoken, where ceremonies are presented there, where singing is among. I do come from a line of 7 generations of Hatafis, and I am the next Hatafi coming up. And learning the songs are not easy. It's very complex and very descriptive. Sometimes I will get frustrated at times. I was told we are never to record these songs. These are only by memories. So I try my best, and all I know is just a Hwan Being song for now. So representing my culture and where I come from, again, as a first generation college student, the first in my family to hold this title, it's very astonishing for where I come from, and especially only having my Che, who is the one I look up to, my grandmother passing on, my father passing on. All I have, and my both Nalis passing on. All I have left is just my mother and my grandfather. So to this day, I still try my best to speak the language and understand every one of them. I do have a little sister who is only 9 years old. I treat her like my own daughter. I take care of her every day. We go to powwows, we go to ceremonies, we go to NACs. I don't speak English to her. I speak only Navajo. She goes to school at Evangelicum Lorden Mission, a Christian school. She very likes it there, even though they only speak English, but they also try their best to speak Navajo, and it's very good for them. Me, as an older sibling, the first in my family, I really try my best. It's really hard, but I know among us, we always have that first sibling that we look up to, or sometimes we are the first siblings, and we really try our best to take care of our younger siblings. So with my experience, going back to AHA experience, as of today, I am currently working on my Bachelor's of Arts for teacher degree, and I want to become the first Diné language teacher in my family. And I really look forward to that, and I want to continue into it. I think that is about it. Yeah, thank you.
So does anybody have any questions for him? Okay. All righty then. And you're gonna get going? Oh, just so you know, he is a wonderful singer of our national anthem in Diné Bazad. So if you want to, invite him to your function, he sang at Diné College graduation. So you can go to Facebook or to YouTube Diné College page, and you can hear him singing. So, Janelle Yehataf. Yeah, sing a song. Nahahataf, Diné Shaju.
I'm still learning. I'm learning a peyote song by my late uncle Ivan Begay or Ivan Bahi. I just wrote down the lyrics if you guys don't mind. I'm still learning that song. It's an AC song. Okay. I'm really good at national anthem singing. Yanhayo anahiyane hayano. Yanhayo anahiyane hayano. Yanayo anahiyane hayano. Yanhayo anahiyana heneyo. Shamashi jayanishni go ayo adashni go adashni. Yanayo anahiyane hayano. Yanayo anahiyane hayano. Yanayo anahiyane hayano. Yanayo anahiyane hayano. Yanayo anahiyana heneyo. Ahalane kono hukagi ninishlena loi anahene. Chike bahajone nisni go atashni. Yanayo anahiyane hayano. Yanayo anahiyane hayano. Yanayo anahiyane hayano. Yanayo anahiyane hayano. Yanayo anahiyana heneyo. شصوت الزبنات كي يشيل هون أكيم نجونك بين شناكو يانا هني يا تشنيكو تشنيك يانا يوانا ياني هيانو يانا يوانا ياني هيانو يانا يوانا ياني هيانو يانا يوانا ياني هيانو Yana yoana hiana hene yoam. Yana yoana hiane hayano. Yana yoana hiane hayano. Yana yoana hiane hayano. Yana yoana hiana hene yoam. Shema shizayana shligo yada shligo adashi. Yanayo anahiyane hayano. Yanayo anahiyane hayano. Yanayo anahiyane hayano. Yanayo anahiyane hayano. Yanayo anahiyana heneyo. Yeah.
Gian Chinjono, but Ketni Kai. Okay. China Bahajon get out. Kato leadership with Yahegi Yetantra at Dene College and Zay Ben Haga of Dene College with he's our representative, student representative in that organization, and Shadajan Long Adriana Chi Doshe we are co-advisors for that. So Ado Eyaha Deed Senigi Tho Nachabe Hodesh Tchal. So I will try and share the content of this event so that you can use it in your classroom. Ado, you can add to it. So I always teach our students that songs allow our spiritual beings to talk to each other because, we connect through a much deeper sense of ourselves when we sing to each other, when we sing together, or when we sing for someone. It brings us peace and happiness. So the first song and the picture here is Sasha Araba, who is a former student of mine. I had to get permission from her to use this photo. But I used her photo because there was something I found really amazing about her. And she was brought up through Christian ways. And, through her presentation, she shared kind of how her family still embraced the identity. And she said, even though I was brought up Christian, she said, my family still appreciates our clothing. They can sa do bil e do hatsi best onigi yo bihyata e do bistan lo yan suda ke. So that's how I dress, she says. It's my sense of identity, it's my sense of belonging, and it's who I am. No, the classmates of the ni nahi hatzi. And so, in zita bilkeshi, ado shoya dunzen. But this song was sung as a way of declaring that self-determination. I walk here, because this is my land. Ado konshik edo shidane kwa etahalo. Ado konshizad salado kon ki ol isila. Ado nda eyaha kodo e chimasan shizani shichon de kodo chida beke ebini na e kona sha. So she na sha is a sense of self-determination. And the kids are not too young to hear this song. And sooner or later, as we teach, like you said, how come we cannot align our curriculum to kind of be stepping stones instead of feeling like they're separate, right? Stepping stones. If we teach them these relevant songs, then that can help them to step up. Ado the next grade a begin holo ado inache ahunzeno ado leya ahunzeno do ye da ahunzeno do ye ete hozeno da shanjon do leya art isita benasben that the ta. So these are classroom songs, and in the book by Lomo Waima and McCarty Dashin A Yaha, they talked about these safe spaces in the residential school, Tahuel Jijda, Ida, Akopelagana, Shin Heda Zidoshi Adat, Akon Hizadigi, I see Hiche Yadan Chil, Hol Jij, Ako. These nursery rhymes were the only ones that we were allowed to translate. Yeah, we still carry that in our classrooms. We have translated these Belagana nursery songs into we have adapted. How come we can't use our own? What if we create songs? Ado senigi ede na otash njondo lesh and so Bansa's case, but I still sing some of these. Ako shinasha. So that's the first one here. You can see it up there, and I will send you this PowerPoint so you can use it in your class. And I'll try and record myself and upload it to YouTube so that you can play it in your classrooms for the kids or in your home for your children or whatever. Shenasha, Shenasha, Shenasha, la de hojola eya he naya. Shenasha, Shenasha. Shenasha la de hojola ea he naya. Ahala ahala gona sha. Ahala ahala gona sha. Shenasha. Shenasha. Shenasha la de hojola ea he naya. So that's how that one goes. They feel so soothed by it. This one's an interactive song. So I'll need a volunteer to sing. I'll do the first one, and then I'll need a volunteer. So you calm them down with song. So D-A Yaha, the verse is on the green side. Adonne. And by the way, there's an app called Adonne, spelled exactly the same way, where you can see your clan groups. So you can download that. And it is free, created by our very own Albert Haskey, who is the one who's working on creating a verb generator. So there was a mention of creating apps for our kids that is useful. He's needing to find funding for that too, and he is in part one of our event. So if you go back to YouTube for the February 22nd event, you'll hear his presentation there, and he introduces the two apps, one that he already has available and the other one that he's working on. So Adonne. Clans. Eneya heya heo, Eneya heya heo, Eneya heya heo, Hadone eshanele, hadone eshbashanchin. Twa desani eneshego, twa chitni bashanchin. Ene ya hiyo, ene ya hiyo. Ene ya hiyo, ene ya hiyo. Hadone eshdane che, hadone eshdane nale. Ashihida che gotore konje dashanale. Ene ya hiyo, ene ya hiyo. Ene ya hiyo, ene ya hiyo. Okay, who wants to volunteer their clans? You got to yell it out. Or maybe you. Okay, so just say your clan when it comes to that part. I don't want to hear you sing, okay? Okay, clear your throat. Ready? Ene ya hiyo, ene ya hiyo. Ene ya hiyo, ene ya hiyo. Hadone eshanele, hadone eshbashanchin. Ene shligo, bashanchin. Ene ya hiyo, ene ya hiyo. Ene ya hiyo, ene ya hiyo. Hadone eshdane che, hadone eshdane nale. Dasha chego, dasha nale. Ene ya hiyo, ene ya hiyo. Ene ya hiyo, ene ya hiyo. Yay! Give yourself a hand. Now you know a song. A connect. This one's Taste the Bahacious Maltese. This one was a song that I heard Zani Yazi Joliende. But she used to be singing this song as the only person walking through this parade. Every time Rock Point community had a parade, she would be walking just by herself with her drum. And this is the song that she sang. She would sing, "Hey Naya, yo wene young, yo wene young, yo wene ya hey Naya, tis a bahacious notice, tis a bahacious notice." Ashans lahacious danade goga, chitagene beheya hey naya. Yo wene young, yo wene young, yo wene ya hey naya. That's how that went. Very robust, right? I see how y'all you know, it's like gumption. And I hegi sanibin nashinjin tino chinigi yo, they understand. If they're gonna speak their language, they have to have gumption. They can't be afraid, they can't hold back, they can't be shy. Ayo, you know, they have to carry that courage. Ado, you know, don't be so sensitive. Ado sha otlohns and ado bachin ado bayans and the bayans no. Those are things we have to constantly tell them. My mom is the one that shared all these songs with me. So this one goes, hey, young, hey, young, yana, anna, obaye, yana, anna, obaye, hey, na, yana, anna, obaye, yana, anna, obaye, hey, na, ya, tzedeka, ayashtot, liyaje, Hoga ashne nedi dashatsui hayika shne yana ana obaye hey na ya na ana obaye yana ana obaye hey na ya. That's how that one goes. Okay. And the last one is kind of hard. But this was my favorite song by White Valley Singers. And Hahastwin Linigi Chichajalinde Yohayin Holanda. And his teachings were Bindanji Tihanjano, Hui Hunt it said he didn't know ya and then and I'm sure a lot of you grew up with those teachings too. Bindan nail then ta naho etil zeh no da. So this one again takes a lot of energy. Hey, hey, hey, young, hey, hey, young, oh, oh, oh, oh, oh, oh, oh, hey, hey, young, oh, oh, oh, oh, oh, hey, hey, young, awenia, young, awenia, young, oh, hey, young, awenia, young, awenia, young, hey, young, ega chidina, ega anigo, ega chidina, ega anigo, Hadisha, Sheit Oceana, it's not Ota, hey, young, ega chidina, ega anigo, ega chidina, ega anigo, Hadisha, Sheit Oceana, it's not Ota, hey, young, hello, Shana, Ashke, hello, Shana, Ashke, Nasengo, Bego Danish Ethan, hey, young, hello, Shana, Ashke, hello, Shana, Ashke, Nasengo, Bego Danish Ethan, hey, young, hey, young, hey, young, awenia, young, awenia, young, hey, young. I'm so sorry. Hello, Jeanette. Sen geçiyorum. Taçalinde nikizade. Ben tacızba. Hello, Jeanette. İşçiğini ko. Beda hita. Beda nit. Benda nitken. Be nasıl ko. Hello, Jeanette. Geçiyorum. Gizlenze. Kanda cızba. Geçe tacalinde. Masan tacalinde. Ben tiendan Hashin sako bastedzi. Odishingo basatani. Lansen. Aron hinha hinsen sto. Ono ya hashin sako. Nihizadi in Hishineko, Nahabahensen, I don't have children, Lenishi, Konjonoshi, Pada not ego, it's Ado, it's Ado, Sad Leni Akonshan, and Nantin Lenita, but I can't, it's Ado Lady Lado, but on Hajo Bains, just as Nido. This is how important my language is to me. Ayon Nashikna. Ado I it heals me. I been down to the Sinondishna. You know, I don't need it, no. Jashi Allah, it's on the Holland. Jashi Allah, Jahil in Holland. What's a bear, Janani, Alvin. Ani hot echo, by hand soyage. I wouldn't have known this song. I wouldn't have sung this if I don't have my language. I wouldn't be able to sing that. I wouldn't know how to sing it. I wouldn't know what it means. I wouldn't feel that energy that it requires for me to carry it inside me with that strength. It requires strength for me to carry my language. And nothing is going to get in my way. And I hope that for each of us, Nane kredon hizad lenigi ako aye yaha Francis case ako ayona isnan hizad lenigi aron dai bendish ayon shfiat ako achinen lenigi even at the college level I sing for them. I sing for them to presence us. And all of my courses are virtual courses. Zoom, they've been, and they fill up so fast. And I always have to add more seats to my class because Zoom is more convenient for our kids these days, even for people that are working. They prefer Zoom. And so, so when you do those surveys in your communities on behalf of your language, you will always find out that the kids always want to learn their language. But it's up to us. How do we create those spaces and those places and opportunities where they can have access and exposure to their language? How do we strengthen our language? Aro hehe shiso tsan kokoje ahol jij. Ako dishi, I will share that PowerPoint with you so that you can use it in your classrooms. Ako Chanela Avery ba isa linde, he was busy talking to the leaders just right next door. Ajib today non shinshe additional. Ashinshe aben soit additionally, I said. So DA Yaha aided DLTI Flenigi, which is a co-sponsor for today, the Ne Language Teacher Institute, at UNM. And I shared some of the doctors, indigenous doctors that we have at the Nedanle. Dr. Vincent Morito, Dr. Tiffany Lee, and Dr. Melvitha Chi, who is a Navajo linguistics teacher, the science of our language. Ade, they're the main teachers who teach these courses. Ado, Dr. Lloyd Lee Dashin thought he had one of the courses. So those of you that were wondering about free education, how to learn my language and how to teach my language, DLTI is that program. So they bought our books for us, and they even we had a choice of either to have a laptop bought for us or we were given a stipend. So abakajit based on the hilag ehesnel. So That's that kind of program. And we need more of those programs at all the institutions that are in or around the Navajo Nation. We need to punch out more of those language teachers. So Aya, I wanted to introduce them. And so this was a class that I took for him, 593. And I worked with Janetta Johns out of Blue Gap and Priscilla Weaver out of Shiprock. And we went along with Priscilla Weaver, I see, Hashkahagi Bahatanno. And her focus was on Hashkasad, Alet ala discipline Bihinto into our educational spaces. No. So what I titled this, and we presented this together, na yeek eko benantin sad benas o chief is what we called it. So dahandi liye linigi azet linigi jo e benache akwin zendo benache hostel go nihizad be anotif. The foundational understanding is that the family home is the root of all teachings of discipline. Major emphasis here is the main point is that we want our children to live a full life, and they need life skills to survive and honor a long, healthy life. We all want that for our children. So the fundamental laws of the Neh philosophy provides balance and process through and life skills require cultural teachings, discipline, and making good decisions. Fundamental laws of the Neh philosophy is based on Keh, those basic human rights and human law. And we are, as a sovereign nation, because of the fundamental laws of the Neh philosophy. We have our Diné survivance, resilience, and resurgence. We usually call that our Diné universe. The hoka digin Diné a yenilianche, the hoka digin Diné belash lai. A den hinahagaton heina a aita adolepe satolnili aita nahasilla. It's already there. Shandala eno, it's already in you. Adobelagana doonne, it's already in you. It's in your blood memory. And that is a part of us. So Shizado Behasin that you know that's not true, but it's already in you, it's in your blood memory. You just need to wake it up. You just need to wake it up. So ceremony, nahaga, is not just about religion. It's not just about going into a church. Ceremony, jo nahaga janoya. Nahaga, something's moving. Ajashi, most ceremonies, Janesh Ego, they're moving. The music moves them, the drum moves them, the haga. So those practices are in our culture for a reason. Anle, the sacred elements, lini a nanhisha, a bego, we call that, God or creator, that which we don't have control over. So that's a part of everybody. So ceremony houses spirituality. Prayer connects us to our faith. Our faith, we have faith that depends on our practice. Our practice depends on what we are taught. What we are taught comes from somewhere. So creator is the source of our resilience, and therefore life is ceremony. So it's very inclusive. That means it includes everybody. It doesn't push anybody outside that universe, that space. So when you look at the main purpose of this curricular packet, Hanoya, nihizad ya atitole. That should be the number one thing on your agenda. Nihizad ya atitole. That's what it means to have an official language. That's what that means. So when our president says Dinepizad is now the official language, well, let's speak it to each other. Ben nahuit a ben si keso ben nahuit ado be inasalado na ebe si huinsendole. Ashi ahishne. So benache e anotilo ho master communicative abilities that foster self-discipline. That has to be taught. Somebody has to show our kids how to talk to each other. We have to model that. How do we talk to each other? Although the content should be these life skills to be taught through like the rites of passage, discipline teachings into adulthood, life skills, and topics of the themes, the role of ceremony for a disciplined lifestyle. And the first thing that was on Priscilla's list was housing. And the reason why she said she brought that up is because her kids, her adult kids, were having a hard time finding housing. She's like, home site lease process and things that get in the way. Khaleit ala abe, hawan atta ito li, ado kwa keya, bachetato taso ikai hawan ito niso, ikado iketato les, ado e hashin so inayeho sanit ado yaho nizit khaidelehto les. That's what we want for our kids: safety, security, belongingness, love, needs, relatedness, esteem, motivation. So when we talk about rites of passage, create a newness for family. How can we put those in our curriculum? How do we teach that to the little ones? What does it look like when you bring it to their level? Does it sound like a song, right? Does it sound like role playing? What does it look like when it comes to teaching it to the little kids? Adult that go the next song into middle school, what does it look like there? How are you going to create curriculum so that it's appropriate, age appropriate? Adult discipline niki abi salago, pajonja do na yeg ehomantini abi salago, hashit bahat do ni. And you said it, it's going to take time. And who's going to start those conversations, right? That's what we're doing today. We created that space where we can talk to each other, remind each other what needs to be done and how hard it is, where we can start, how we can start. Right? Our colonized mindset has made us separate. We are separated. That's why we blame each other. That's why I say shik ehotan this case, shika ehuimsen. That's separated thinking. So we need to decolonize that. And what I mean by that is we need to remember how Keh works. Right? So here is an example of that curricular design with Sa'anaweibik Ahojon teachings in Dineh Bazad. We have the await that's the life process, the 4 directional teachings of Lenigi, with consideration to our spiritual, physical, mental, and emotional development, the whole child. Ado including them depending on their brilliance. Every child has something beautiful to bring to the table. That's why we don't judge them. They're, our indigenous thinking will see, they're behaving like a hummingbird. You know, and ni hot ba alia go hot and so so that's the decolonized thinking. So when we think through a Belagana lens, we begin to label our children. Put them in that program. No, we can't do that. The curriculum so when we frame dialogue, facilitates and it has to start somewhere. So framing dialogue to strengthen the Nebazad in teaching discipline through life skills. So teaching kinship and virtues of kindness, caring, and emotional needs through and teaching through a reciprocal approach based on kinship and trust, teaching through respect for human rights, as declared by UNDRIP, which is the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. That's UNDRIP. And that document declares these basic human rights: the right to be, the right to become, and the right to belong. Every kid needs all these three to grow up. And I keep telling my students, it seems like we are teaching our children to know what ike is, that we're building them into that sense of independence through relationship and how to respond within those spaces of relation instead of reacting. Because when we react, that means we're not responding. So when we respond, it's like we're being responsible, right? Responsible, response-able. And we are reacting. That is our intergenerational trauma at work, right? So the role of the net dialogue is important when you're designing curriculum. The purpose is here to teach through Denebizad and Dene philosophy and kinship, to model thinking and learning through Denebizad, to sustain sociocultural practices that instill discipline, to aid healthy development and healthy relationships. And then the design should be creating context out of the direct instruction model. Like direct instruction is just one method. Like when you're looking at TPR, total physical response, you're looking at community language learning and audiolingual method. You have to use them interchangeably. We can't have that separated thinking in our brains. We can't say, okay, I'm using Daily 5. This is my whole group activity. So I'm using direct instruction. This is my next activity. I'm using this method. I'm using this method. So when you're creating curriculum, you're keeping in mind that these methods they're movable. So you're the walking curriculum. You're the orchestrator. You're the maestro that's, getting the symphony going in your classroom, the way that their intelligence is. You're creating that inclusive environment in your classroom. And it's hard. It's very hard. And I commend you so much as educators for working with our youth, our children. Ako, Those are contexts. Ado kwa has given nantin holo, kwa has given nantin holo, kwa has given nantin holo. Adon da bigi a hisna anish hit a hisna anish bigi ashit al nish. How do things work in that context? So it's but not need tin go ish. What kind of images are we putting in our kids' brains? How are we tying story to it? So big question is Nahaz Khanigi. Obviously, they saw that somewhere. Ha dashi became lini huta Nahaz ta ahistaz na otayisa. A bango, that's why they're doing it. Monkey see, monkey do. That's a basic human condition. Monkey see, monkey do. So our kids will mimic us. Adon da'e, we acknowledge them. We give them that sense of belonging and strength through our cultural practices that they're so important. A witch is important. Even in the Belagana way, is the commencement of conceptualization. They're going to respond through laughing, responding to external stimuli, to somebody that they're with. So the point is, this is my last slide, reverse language shift. Implications are language revitalization efforts requires a transdisciplinarity approach for change. So transdisciplinarity is a very interesting way of approaching something. But I'll tell you this right now. Transdisciplinarity, even though it's a very fancy word, I don't that's what it is. And I will show you how it works through research. I will share that with you after our break. So let's take a short break. I don't even know what time it is. 2:30. Oh my goodness. Okay. So let's take a 5-minute breather, kind of brain break, wake up, go wash your face. What I'd like to do when we come back is have you guys turn to each other. You're gonna write a story together. In your groups, one person's gonna present your story, and it's gonna be a story about success. What are you gonna do in your community? I want you to dream together and say, here's what we did, and here's what happened. And here are the characters. Oh, just a short story. See where it goes, okay? So 5-minute breather. Okay, so elements of the story. You are envisioning some kind of community level action that you are doing, and you're telling a story about it. This was the purpose. here's what happened, and here's how it was a success. So kind of envisioning something coming out beautifully and working effectively. So what is that thing, and what was the issue that you started with? So you can go back to thinking about, what do we need? They're all here on the wall. What was it you said needed to be brought to everybody's attention, right? So start with that being the problem, and then you creating some kind of an event that helps that issue. How did it carry out? Who helped? Who was there? And how did it happen? And how was it successful? So kind of envisioning that action process. Yeah. You can group yourselves however many people you want to on the here. So you can get started right away. So just group yourselves, and I want one person to tell your story. You can start by saying, here was the issue. We found out that something happened, or this was the issue, whichever one of these. And here's what we did, right? I want you to envision something together. I'll put 22 minutes on the clock, starting now. We have 13 minutes remaining. Make sure you identify your presenter. Who's going to tell the story about how you created change in your community? Okay, so we have 1 minute and 30 seconds left. Who's ready to go? Who's group? Oh, we got 1, 2, 3 that are ready to go. 4, 5 are ready to go. Okay, awesome. So go ahead and wrap it up, and then we'll start your presentations. You can stand where you're at, or you can come up here. It's really up to you. Who would like to go first? Okay, so these two want to go first, and then we'll go second? Okay, I feel like an auctioneer. That is one of my jobs. If you want me to come to your community to host an auction, I'll be happy to. So, yeah, we can auction off sheep, skirts, jewelry that you're making, whatever, rugs. So we can do that. Yeah, I can help you raise money that way. So I do that for my in-laws in Onion Lake. Every annual powwow they've ever hosted in Onion Lake, I ran the auction, Sunday morning auction they called it, and they would put a whole bunch of stuff on the table, like used regalia, like fancy dance stuff, jingle dresses, horse tails, beadwork, shawls, ala talyagi, and it was so much fun to do that. Some of it's on YouTube, so look me up. Okay, we'll start with you, ladies.
Uh, it's our story is a personal story. my my my dad's little brother, he comes into the hogan with me, my daughter. We're making bread right there, and he says, "Odin kiso eya, nichedo, nichet yaftito dole, the nekeche." And he said, "What did he say?" I looked at her. I was like, "Oh gosh." And for any other family, you know, that word, "Oten kisko eya," it really hurts, right? And for maybe for other cultures, that's you don't say that, you're stupid. But in our culture, that's really strong. And we hold ourselves to it. So how do you explain that to little children? Do we call them that? Do we say that to them? That's where it's really hard in the classroom. As staff, at home, yes, you can do that. You can say that. So that was a hard lesson for me. And I was just telling the ladies here, and they're like, "That's a good one," they were saying. And I was like, "Okay, I guess I'll tell my story, and maybe you guys can help me out. I still don't know. Still don't know simple commands, simple requests." And she's an adult. So I don't know if she wanted to add something on or the other two ladies, but that was the start of our conversation.
Well, when she told me that, I did talk to her. She said something's bothering me, and that's what she said. And I looked at her. I said, on me, I said, uh, um, grandma used to say that. Stuff like that. So I'm not letting but for us, teaching in the classroom, we tell our parents that, like when we do that primary language questionnaire, they say, "I want my child to learn both language." I said, "You have to help us in the home. Here outside, nanak ni tino gon le hawaden nahata ho pelagan like HJPG until that's what I tell them. But I don't say Otenkis a lot, uh, but and it starts in the home, yeah. Unheated, even us, our children don't know, but yet, I just for me, I try to. I talk to my grandchildren and my children in Navajo, so they do understand. Um, one time, um, but this is a personal story too. One time I was with my children. I used to leave them with their nolly, because when I was going to school in Flagstaff, she would be the one taking care of them. And then she'll bring them over back to me. And they, one time, my children were, they fancy, the pepper. I said, get down, you're going to fall off. But on that, one of their youngest sister went and said, yeah, Mai, get down, you're going to fall off. And I looked at them and then I said, what? Nali says, "Ito no Mai," no, she was calling her sister and brother Mai. And I was like, what? And so, and then when we got home, I was asking them, why are you saying that to your brother, Badishno? That means coyote, Badishno. And they, Nali says, "Tanah mai." Also, bigo hapan tanah mai no siya. And so I said, okay, I tried to explain to them, but, other than the other, Chim the Nafian Badishno, I kind of had to explain to her. The way they interpret, I could tell her. And then, so one time we were driving, and coyote lady. They all and my daughter goes, yeah, look, you look like that when you're real skinny, how she so thinking about that, it's kind of funny, but yeah, for us I usually just tell them that it starts in the home. Anyway, that's one thing we stressed in our classroom, especially when we look at that questionnaire. So yeah, I just wanted to say that.
So what I took from your presentation was that it hurts when we are spoken to in a certain way. Ani, Adeshif Olwathlot Aban's case, I was thinking, Hadashit the nest, a long time ago, because everything was different. There's no electricity, no running water, no TV, no DVDs, no internet, no social media. Hadashit the nest, but some of those video recordings are probably in the archives, right? When you think about it. So those of you that are hoping to get into research. So the teaching that we take away from these two ladies, their group, is Hazad Bahajandazendole, right? Ado starts in the home. That's true. Remember? Monkey see, monkey do, right? Okay, these two ladies over here. And hold the microphone real close so we can stay awake.
Okay, so we're gonna focus on our community, and within our community, we had some community developments like Senior Citizen Center, Chapter House. We even had a DES out there in our community, and then a community for elderlies. They had homes built where elderlies had homes. They were built like hogodons. So, and a lot of these developments were vandalized, and to this day, it's been years since no one's really paid attention to them, and you can really see what is there where they had all these developments, and it's really sad to see in our community. So our dream was to invite probably the media, outside resources, just to have them come out and do a site visit, even though what is out there, it's not so so good to like what we want to see out there is something that's going to be beneficial to the community, the families, the elders, and just kind of like making it positive, bringing all the good developments back up to how we want the community to be seen, and just providing that support to the whole community. And it all comes down to the little ones, the children, the young ones that are being brought into these communities, just kind of like making it a positive environment for them so they can know what is out there, the positive stuff that they can accomplish through what they see, because children know what is out there, and it's good to have them focus on stuff like that. And then the elders helping out with all the teachings that they have within their communities, bringing that back, and just providing that safe environment, positive community, and then mainly focusing on within the community. So that's what we want for the community, our community out there, so we can walk in beauty.
Okay, so what did we take away from theirs? I like the idea of a site visit. It's like, whose job is it to come check on the communities, right? There has to be something in our great nation at the government level who is responsible for checking on the communities. They shouldn't allow, drugs to go rampant, or arson to, people burning stuff down. Like, something's happening over there. They need help. Who's going to help, right? Whose job is that to go over there and check on those people?
Okay, our community is whippoorwill and smoke signals. That's all I wanted to share.
So now we know, right? And these truth telling is usually the beginning of healing. Truth is the beginning of healing. Once you create that collective voice, incredible things can happen. Okay, who wants to go next? Okay.
I think we did our assignment differently. We wrote a fictional story. Okay. So it says, at Idan, within the community of Kienta, there was a young boy named Mason. He noticed that in his homeland there were no plants, no greenery. Mason heard stories from his parents on how they used to plant corn in the fields, and they would have an abundance of corn, squash, watermelon, and pumpkins, and it would feed the community. He dreamt of seeing grass, smelling flowers, and tasting corn. But there's no way he, a little boy, could do it alone. His homeland was dry, there was no support other than his parents, and especially no money. No matter how many coins he could find under the couch cushions, there was no way to fulfill his dream. So he began his adventure to speaking with his local chapter house with his idea and crayon-drawn plans to request funding to bring the community together to start a greenhouse or a garden. All the Chays and all the Masanis were filled with joy that they began the community and youth garden that promoted teaching sustainability, language learning, community and parent involvement, cultural teachings regarding planting, and most importantly, within this little boy's plans, he said, I want to know why we say to'e ina and why corn is important to our people. All done.
Yay! I have a video for that I want to share, but let's go to the next group. Okay, we'll go to that group then, back to you guys.
So for ours is also a made-up scenario. So the problem that was presented most in our community was a lack of the net educational materials. We have very limited books, puzzles, and posters. Oftentimes, we have to create our own teaching materials, such as classroom rules that we often have to translate to Navajo. As this is a time-consuming task and can take away valuable teaching time, we decided to take our issues to the Board of Education. Their solution was to gather a handful of experienced teachers, traditional practitioners, and admin staff from Board of Education to create a Diné pre-K curriculum included with materials to hand out to schools. In this curriculum, it follows Diné teachings and philosophies. It introduces a more hands-on teaching experience and often holding some classes in hogans or teepees. It includes traditional meals as part of lunch, breakfast, and snacks. Some of the teaching topics included are the creation stories, seasonal stories, winter stories, planting seasons, and teachings and techniques, teachings about traditional homes, and teachings about animals. Some other topics include having cultural experience. One day out of the week, parents are encouraged and involved to participate in classes, as well as teachings from grandparents that are presented 2 times a week. Uh, this includes teaching parents to make traditional foods and lessons about milestones their children may reach, and offering services such as kinauta or first laugh parties if that's what their parents want, and stories and songs to share to their kids. Um, Part of this is also including cradle boards for nap time and weaving as an art activity, and having materials labeled in Navajo. Um, Another part of this is having educational opportunities for teachers and parents wanting to learn the language and further their knowledge on Diné education. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Our group here, we're going to share our story about the problem that we identified from all the discussion that we had heard from today is our own Diné language. And the language in the area across Navajo, I know if someone was listening maybe up in Black Mesa region, listening to somebody in New Mexico, and they'll be sitting there like, what is that person trying to say? Or vice versa. And so we all know that the language in different regions are different. And our understanding was that, yeah, there was a disagreement over that. But how long are we going to disagree? So that was the question. So I'm going to give this mic to her. She's going to tell a story, then I'll continue.
Okay. One example is, I guess sometimes when you're relaxed and you're not conscious. Ko sad plata obe hati obe ya just titla. Ko ado kheda huisao. Between nanagi da huisao da. Sometimes they correct you. So I sure ako sad shnoya bahashne. Eda obet ish na shno. Instead of saying just cabbage, then he adonde Ishnani and they Bushishna Bish na showing na. So we don't use alternative words to make a joke. We use a lot of slang. And then when I use the word iltashishnoda, you don't say it like that. So words like that, issue that's every day we might be modeling it inside our classrooms. Ako, ashchuna do ahot she is not ne yilla. Ako ahot ende she pe ho nas do hizat it's becoming interchangeable with a slang that's additional belaganik
So the point, the point in that whole concept is we all have to come to a consensus because I think as a Navajo Nation, we have to come to some consensus saying that this is our standard language. And then that way, whoever works on the curriculums in the schools related to the language would have that standards to go by. And if we don't create that, well, what's going to happen? We're still going to disagree 10 years, 20 years from now. You know, by then time has passed and our culture and language is going to be even less. So we have to all come to a consensus and then, you know, create that standard. That way we have a curriculum and let all the schools, anybody that's going to teach Navajo language or culture, they have the standard of language to work with. I don't know where we'll be. So that was the solution because the language, like she mentioned, we all talk differently. So we have to make a meet somewhere to make those standards. You could have a real strong curriculum, you know, then all the people that taught the language can be strong in teaching it. With parents or anybody else, the state, anybody can say you're wrong in the way of receiving an education. And that was our discussion here, but we had a few good laughs too.
Hey, awesome. Okay, we can do one more group. We'll do this group here. I'm so sorry, we're running out of time.
Okay, so my partner and I, we focused on parent involvement. Just like Ms. Shepherd said, like it starts in the home, and which is true. So we said young parents are not wanting to learn the Diné language, and then discover what to help out was like develop series of Diné language by having weekly meetings or get-togethers for the young parents that are have their children in the program. With our program, Navajo Head Start or other schools, and then discovered was not many parents are interested. So what we said was have parent training in the evening about the Diné language, do hands-on activities, making their own shape, number, and color books in Navajo, and then take them home to share with their children and families. And then the next meeting, they would bring the item back to share with staff to show how much they've learned. And then at the end, awarding the parents on what they've achieved. That's what we came up with for our parent involvement.
There was a study, I forget who the authors were, but there was a study about the difference between parent involvement and parent engagement. So you want to use the words engagement instead of involvement, because if you say parent involvement, you kind of make it an option, right? But if you say parental engagement, they have to get in there. They have to get their hands dirty. And so it's like, how are you going to attract the parents to be interested, to be sustained, to use sustainable methods to do something so that they're reinforcing what's being learned in the classroom? Because right? And that was one of the main issues that rose to the surface in the first part one of this event. So that was what rose to the surface was time constraints. And it's like, what kind of a curriculum do we need to design? Because it sounds like you guys are in charge. You're the doers. You're the ones that move learning from here to here. You have the power to design a curriculum that works for your children. That's the main point of today here. And I need you guys to be those warriors, to be those, change makers, to pave the way for others. How are you going to be loud about it? Because you need to be. You all have to come together to have a collective voice, to say something about things that matter to you, that you know needs to matter for your children, for your grandchildren, for the future. Nobody's going to do it for us. So I took a lot of notes down, and I have so much more to share. Maybe we can do a part 3, right? And do better at it. Yes, okay. So anybody else are itching to present? Okay, we have the ones back there that want to present. Let me make some. So we have door prizes. Melinda Sosi. There's none on this one yet. Yolanda Keone, Rochelle Slover, sorry. And then Elta Shepherd, Genevieve, Latricia Codicini, Mervine Nelson, Shirley Combe, I think it's Combe, and then Sanita Harvey and Charlene H. Come get your prizes. And I have 3 final prizes here, the big freezer bags, cooler bags. So we'll do that after the final presentation. Okay, hold on.
Okay, so our story is titled Uniting Our Community Through Language and Culture. So this is just really an idea of bringing a community together without having to worry about rules or regulations from schools or the tribe. And it would be a community-funded maybe gathering. So volunteers would host booths at this community butchering event. We know that food brings in a lot of people. That could be a way to bring in parents with their children. It could be intergenerational so that it's not only catered to youth and elders, but everyone in between. And so the booths would be culturally relevant events. One would be how to make the tieth, Navajo baskets, moccasins. There could also be language booths, and they would be presented by cultural volunteers who are presenting. And then the goal is just a community collaboration to have fun and share food and the culture.
Yes, let's do that in every community. Have a cultural carnival at your chapter house. And you can have volunteers, families maybe, invite families, and have them choose what they want to do. Set up a booth. Let's make it an immersion event, right? If you're taught speaking English, you have to put a quarter into that can over there. No. So, make it fun, right? So I have Sanita Harvey, Altresia Totticini, Renee Dedman, Melinda Sosi. Then I have Jacqueline Harris, Julia Holmes, I think, and Shondine Chi. So, all righty. How do I close this off? This is the indigenous process philosophy I was talking about. Our A is a change model. It's also a prevention model. So when you're looking at prevention, preventative medicine, it's to avoid things from going very bad, right? I'm not taking care of myself. I'm obese right now. I have to take care of myself. I can use this model to change my thinking. I was practicing my Navajo thinking. I said, oh, yat ebene, shemana Hassan, I want to be okay, and it was hard getting up. I landed on my tailbone here on the 14th and fractured it. So anyway, I can use this. I can ask for help. These are people who know about things. And then the other side is the people who know how it can be done. So when you kind of think about it, the Nehjiko, our men, our grandfathers, our uncles, are carriers of those ontological pieces of our knowledge, things that have to be a certain way, that have to stay still, that have to stay the same. Our language has to stay the same in certain ways. So they're kind of like the bird's eye view. And if you think about it, the men love it when things stay the way they are. Have you noticed that? They like it when things stay where they're at. Put that back. Put that noya. And us women, we love an adventure. We don't mind if we lose things. We love the adventure. And it's like, oh, and then you're like, that's the difference in the uniqueness of our approach. And it's like, is it really that simple? That Creator designed us that way to help each other, Adosani benantinigi lae kutao la bisalala na ye echo hojojik echo salala e behadet ella e behana nisla. It's like, really that simple? Really? So e benina e ahithna anish. That's very important. That sense of togetherness instead of separateness, instead of you're like that. What is the separation of the sexes called? I'll give you a yellow bag. I heard it over here. Okay. If you think about it, right? We are at that point again. Our story is not just a story. Our story is actually our human signature as the Net people. So think, where are we at in our story? We're at that point where we're separated again. The men are like that, the women are like that. We're not collaborating. So when we need to work on collaboration, we need to look at the paradigm. So our Diné paradigm, the theories in it are informed by story. Hanet is what creates theory. Theories are these deep grounded belief systems that we use to function. Ado, the conceptualization, pedagogy. Pedagogy is your curriculum, your teaching methods, your teaching approaches, your instructional approaches. All of that, daily 5, inclusion, differentiation, understanding by design. All of those are little methods, TPR, audiolingual method, all of that. There's so much more to it. But these, when they all come together as the brilliance, and we all have this brilliance in us. But it's wonderful when you have 4 or more people coming together as representatives, as like if they're strong in their leadership. They're really good at seeing the ego. You need people like that. And then you need the doers, the ones that don't mind running around getting stuff done. You need those ones too. So you're going to need youth in these community level advocacy things that you're dreaming about. You're going to need elders. You're going to need parents. You're going to need people who are going to argue with you. They're going to challenge you, but you need them. You're not going to push them away. You're going to welcome them. So you turn it around and you make it positive. That's how this model works. That's our indigenous process philosophy. It is based on growth, it facilitates change, and it helps us to think on Nsaha case, which is what you just did. Banso case, what does our community need? Ado benahason, you planned it out, you envisioned it. And then you saw yourself doing these things. Ina, Adeban, Sanana case, reflect on it. De no kaho, what is it that we can really do now? Today is kado. What can we do? What can I do to create that change? So, Nana, for coming today and for being so patient and understanding and sharing your story and getting to know each other. So, so if you can take your chair over here, and we would really appreciate it, because I think there's like 3 of us that have to put this whole room away. So thank you to Verna. You provided refreshments. Dylan, thank you. Let's give these guys a hand. Thank you, thank you, thank you.